Innovation is Innovation is your imagination becoming a reality. Innovation paves the way to success, enables change, and creates opportunities. The time is now, and the technology is ready for us. But are you ready for innovation? At AI Tech North, everyone is invited, from learners to leaders, to connect with AI champions, to drive new strategies, to disrupt the AI disruption. From smart cities, fintech to health tech, showing you the ethical ways and opening doors to endless possibilities. It's all happening at AI Tech North Summit 2020. Come and exchange ideas, get involved and witness the power of intelligence. Let's learn, inspire and together bring innovations of tomorrow, today.
So technology is changing everything we do these days. It's touching every bit of our lives and disrupting so many industries and sectors. Data and AI is only going to accelerate what's already happening.
At Data Risk Solutions, we believe with the change to digital transformation, the use of machine learning and AI will make any business more operationally efficient and financially sustainable.
Increasingly, the role of IP in crystallizing companies' intangible asset values is being realized.
Copyright protection alone is not sufficient to protect this valuable asset because it only protects the code itself and not the underlying idea. Patents plug this gap.
Hello and welcome to the AI Tech North Summit. We're live, we're in Manchester, we're broadcasting from the Bright Building, courtesy of our sponsors, Brumwood. My name is David Young and I've been involved with AI Tech North for several years now. My background is data warehousing, business intelligence and analytics and information strategy. So today, as I said, we are live. If you want to follow us, we're on hashtag AITN2020, which is going out on LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram. You can join us live on your Adventure platforms. You should have that in front of you. You can't see me without it. So you can access that from your desktops, your PCs, your iPads and your mobile phones. So you should be able to see us. If you need to take a break, you can take your phone with you and get back later on. So that's great. So today, we're actually going to start off our sessions with all our keynote speakers live on this track, in our business track. We're then going to split off into 3 different tracks, which is going to be our business track, our professional track, and our technologist track as well. You'll see loads of speakers, and we've got some great entertainment for you today, hopefully. So, our opening keynote today is going to be based on Begin Your AI Journey. And we're going to kick that off with our founder, Shireen Matthews. And then we're going to have Professor Amir Sharif and Heather Dorr on this morning as well. So at this point, remember as well, you're all on the same feed on Adventure, and then after the keynote sessions, you'll be able to break off to a choice of 3 different feeds, 3 live feeds, our business, professional, and our technology track as well. At this point now, though, I'm going to hand over to our first keynote speaker, which is Shireen Matthews, our founder. And Shireen, take the stage.
Hi, everyone. We are here to talk about advanced innovations of today. But before we start, I want to focus on the key drivers and the foundation of our journey to AI. Let's focus on where did we begin everything? And probably ask ourselves the first most important question. What must have been the first product that mankind ever innovated? Any guesses? If you know the answer, put it in the engagement chat or conversation window. For this product became the foundation for safety and security. This product was critical for civilization and connectivity. This became also foundation for empires and innovation that became tool for next generations. Any guesses? The answer is stone. Yes, a stone. Let me tell you a quick story. Imagine an ape man wandering, marking his territory, looking for food and resources, and wanders into this rocky mountain and slips, falls at the foot of this mountain and gets hurt. He's screaming, he's in agony and absolutely annoyed. With this whole commotion, there's a predator a few hundred yards away, which gets this attention. Oh, I can smell blood. Oh, I can probably taste the meal served on my platter. So this predator, hungry wolf, is literally about to attack this ape man. Ape man has nowhere to go. Trapped between rocks, wolf in the front. The only thing he's aware of is the way he came down. So what he does, he tries to climb up through this rocks and rubble, and by reflex and by instinct, he just kicks and throws whatever he could grab onto at this wolf. Now, something phenomenal happens. There's a puff of dust and gravel and rocks flying at the wolf, and wolf stops the attack. Wolf pauses, and right this moment, that ape man felt, I'm doing something right. Maybe I should continue doing this. And taking that as a feedback, he carries on, picks up bigger pieces, and ultimately picks up a stone and hits the wolf. At this moment, the tables turned. Wolf is hit, and wolf runs away. This is remarkable. This is the beginning of Stone Age era. And this is that point where mankind discovered curiosity to solve a problem in front of him with resources at hand. And you can probably imagine what happened next. This ape man probably started figuring out what are the power of this stone and started throwing this and figuring out what else could it do. Probably he called it Stone X. This ape man probably was Elon Musk of Stone Age era. So what are the other innovations that could have led from this particular innovation, product 0.0? In its native format, it evolved into various things. So it became tool, it became houses, it became boundaries, it became walls, it became pyramid, it became empire. And it became all sorts of innovation, and ultimately StoneX became SpaceX, right? Now, we learn a really important thing here. Curiosity driving us to innovate. Curiosity drives innovation to solve a problem with resources at hand. It's really powerful. And one of the key messages for the summit is to bring out our curiosity. So what are the resources that we have in our hands today? A lot of things. We have a lot of data. We're generating data at crazy rate, exponential rate. We have technology that processes data at speed of thought. We have intelligence, which is the trending fashion these days. Everything is automated, everything is well connected, and communication is at lightning speed today. All of this results into something inevitable: AI. So AI is brilliant, but I think it really is a complex technology. So we really need to understand what it actually means. So before we think about AI, we need to think about intelligence. I define intelligence as capability to apply information positively. And to explain intelligence, I might do a little experiment with you all. So I got something in my pocket. I'm going to throw this up in the air, right? So I will request all of you to keep a track of this object that's flying in the air. I'm going to juggle this for like a couple of times, right? 5 times to be precise. And if you know the answer, if you can identify the object, please, again, comment in the section. If not, it's fine. I'll tell you the answer, right? So this is going in the air, recognize it, and please respond to in the chat window. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay, so most of you might figure out what it is. Those who haven't, it's fine. Let me zoom in. This is a penguin, a chocolate bar coated over biscuit. Now, whatever you just did is super intelligent. And this penguin is unique. It has a really unique capability or character, which is it has a joke on it. So there's a question. Let me read that out for you. Why can't penguins fly? It's because it's a chocolate biscuit. Now, most of you might be smiling, probably like wondering, oh, that makes sense. And some of you might, oh, that caught me. Now, whatever you just did, connected with me, connected with this joke, and you followed the instructions, that is super intelligence. AI cannot smile. AI cannot laugh. AI cannot do whatever you just did. It will just blow up. That question will blow AI up. So we need to really understand what is intelligence and what is AI. So I'll try to explain this. So whatever you just did is pretty much super intelligence. Without emotions, it might be artificial general intelligence. And if you break the entire task that you just did into simple tasks, it's called narrow intelligence. And let me explain narrow intelligence. Narrow intelligence is you pretty much take my input as speech, put it through a model, and once it's in the model, you get an outcome. So AI, simple AI, is pretty much simple input, simple output. And you could do with various other things, such as speech to text. Text processing and understanding context in machine learning terms is called natural language processing. If you do the same thing with context, transforming into image or understanding image from your database. So you probably know there was penguin as a biscuit and penguin as a bird, but you picked up the right one when I did this experiment. That is knowledge capability. And there are many more. You identified this object flying in the air. That is image processing or computer vision capability. And first and foremost, how do you actually learn? Simple thing. I'll tell you what this is. You label this information. You associate an experience with penguin or eating that penguin biscuit. That is supervised experience of learning. And that's called simple supervised learning. Now, other one is if you get penguin wrong as, say, Kit Kat, right? And then someone corrects you. That's reinforcement, giving you positive or a negative feedback based on your response. So reinforcement learning is another way machines learn today. Lastly, when you already know what Kit Kat is, and you probably have never eaten penguin, in this case, you probably know what it tastes like already. So that's called transfer learning. Now, once we know all about AI, let's try to manage this AI expectation. First thing first, AI is not super intelligent. AI operates in a narrow space, working on narrow set of logic. Simple input, model, simple output. Next thing is we think AI can predict everything. Unfortunately not. It is reactive. It's reacting on your data. It's reacting on your previous data sets and experiences. So in this case, If, say, driverless car has never seen a cow or an alien, or alien cow, for example, it will hit it because it's never seen that data before, okay? It's predicting based on the data that it's been trained on. Lastly, the purpose. So when you build AI, don't build it just because you can build AI on anything. It's got to serve a purpose. The purpose of AI is to augment us, to optimize operations and empower people. So ensure that we just don't build AI because we can. We need to ensure that it actually solves the problem. So having said all of this, how do we actually transform with AI? Transforming with AI leads, well, I'm going to give you some tips for success with AI. So let's look into it. So how to succeed? Leaders drive a lot of value in terms of bringing AI into the organization. They are responsible for executive thinking 5-10 years down the line. They're responsible for AI strategy, purpose-driven AI solution design, business requirements, and really, like I said, serving the purpose, which is empowering, augmenting, and optimizing everyone through the AI solutions. Next, and most important one, which most of the industries forget to probably acknowledge. They think AI leaders are good enough to sort of drive the project, or data scientist is good enough to drive the project. But equally, it's important that we have designers to bridge the business requirements into technical solutions. So designers are responsible for architecting, understanding the product requirement, engaging with the stakeholders, ensuring your ethics, your requirements are embedded into the solution. Last but not least, you need developers, data scientists, data engineers to deliver all of this. One last secret to success is also to leverage the power of community. I'm going to talk about that a bit more. So, power of community. COVID has impacted each and every one of us in one way or the other. At this time of adversity, we decided that giving up was not an option. We suffered along with many, and we truly believe in the power of innovation, power of community, and the power of people's fighting spirit. And today, we want to ensure that power of community really gives you that awareness, gives you that leverage to learn from lessons from others, from experts, from researchers who are available today in this 2 days of summit to sort of empower you and give you the value, right? It also is one way to connect with experts who will give you that insight so that you're not repeating the same mistakes, you're learning from their lesson and accelerating your journey to advanced innovations. At this moment, I also want to call out some of our heroes who made this AI Tech North Summit possible. First and foremost, I want to call out entire team. Entire team has worked the socks off. So a massive credit to the entire AI Tech North team for bringing this summit live, bringing the entire 2-day summit together. We owe them a big round of applause if you guys are there virtually. So if you're there watching this, please, this is literally fruit of their labor. Secondly, I want to acknowledge George Young, one of our great ambassadors. We lost him during this planning session. Sorry. You'll be truly missed. And we would like to dedicate today's summit to George Young. And last but not least, my family, who suffered massively because of me, my depression, the demons that I was fighting with. So every minute that I stole from them, I literally owe them massively. So I want to give them a massive round of applause virtually so that they appreciate everything that we're doing as a community today. I also want to take this moment so that I acknowledge all of you. I think without you believing in us, we won't be able to do this. So I think if today you were to take away 3 key messages, I think first and foremost is be curious. Be curious about innovation. Be curious about being human. Be curious about being natural. There's artificial intelligence, but you got to apply your natural intelligence. So just be curious. Just think, can I do something with my data? Can I do something with my people? Can I do something with my tech process? And whatever resources you have, just use it and leverage the power of the resources that you have. Next, Innovation 4.0 is literally like a tsunami wave. It is disruptive. So this platform, AI Tech North, this 2-day summit is literally arming you with that surfboard to ride the Innovation Wave 4.0, right? And that's what we mean when we say disrupt the disruption. Lastly, leverage the power of community, as I said. Leverage the connections, leverage the knowledge, leverage the experts, and leverage these 2 days so that you could create something beneficial and trustworthy AI solution for you and your organization. AI Tech North team has gone through challenges to bring this summit for all of you so that you can leverage knowledge, you can strategize today, and come back stronger tomorrow to disrupt the disruption. We did this because as a community, we believe in the power of advanced tech. We believe in community, that when a community is equipped with advanced tech, it's an inspiring force. And this is because we believe in tech, we believe in community, and we believe in you. My message is, let's learn, inspire, and enjoy AI Tech North 2020. Thank you.
Hi, thanks Sharon, and thanks for those kind tributes as well. Much appreciated. So yes, we are live. We're live on YouTube at the moment. We are having a few technical problems with the platform, but we're going live on the Adventure platform at 11 a.m. this morning. We're going to continue with our keynote speakers live here from the Manchester studio. Next up, we have Professor Amir Sharif, who is our Professor of Circular Economy at University of Bradford. So he's going to talk about how we're going to begin our AI journeys in our session now. So I'm hoping now that we can probably cut across to Amir and go live to his camera.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me all.
We can.
And
you are live.
You can see me as well if my webcam is working. I'm just going to flip to the other screen to make sure that we're there, and I can see the chat there. So I'll continue. So welcome everybody. I'm glad to be here and be the first keynote. It's a great opportunity to come together as a community of AI pioneers and researchers, and of course business people and wider participants in the sector. And very many congratulations and thanks to Shireen and the AI Tech North team. They've done a fantastic job, and delighted to be here with you all today. I'm going to talk for however long until I'm pulled off about some perspectives I have on the AI sector, the AI landscape in general, and what I believe are some of the challenges and opportunities. You've already heard from Shireen, of course, in the last few moments about what he believes and what AI Tech North believes to be the real innovative aspects of artificial intelligence. And I just want to progress that idea a little and hopefully leave some food for thought with you for the remainder of this summit. So I'll continue. One thing you might be wondering, and I'm speaking to you live from the north, I'm in West Yorkshire myself, is how comes a professor of circular economy is talking to you about artificial intelligence? Well, there's a bit of history here. I was not always a professor, or not always even a researcher in circular economy. I actually began my academic career, if you like, quite a few years ago now, but it actually was in AI. And if you care to look at some of my previous publications, you'll see that it was around different subjects in artificial intelligence, neural and evolutionary computing, and even some of you may know the terms genetic programming, genetic algorithms. And so I've dabbled in the past with AI. And so AI is one of my first academic homes, if you like, apart from the fact that I'm an engineer by training, but now a professor in business. So I have a great love and affinity for artificial intelligence, and that's never really gone away, which is why I'm delighted to speak to you today and offer you some insights from my perspective and my time in the field over those years. So broadly today, I'm going to talk to you about three separate areas, three separate things. The first thing is clearly about why we're here. This is the whole reason why we're having a summit. This is the whole reason why AI Tech North is doing what it's doing. The time is right and the time is now. And why is that the case for the UK? Why is that the case for the North? Secondly, I want to cover some of the challenges in artificial intelligence. Now, some of these we might know about already, and you've heard from Shireen, and you've probably heard from a lot of people over the years, over time, about the opportunities, the risks, the benefits, and the value add of artificial intelligence. But how might we address some of those aspects? And then finally, I just want to end up with a look into the future and my own perspectives on what that might be. And I'll cover several areas that are interconnected as we go along. So for those of you who know of this, then you would have seen some of the details I'm about to share with you. But earlier this year, there was a report that came out, the Tech Nation 2020 report. The Tech Nation reports come out every year and are always looked at and read eagerly. And the UK tech sector really features as the main focus of this report for obvious reasons. But also, this annual report, takes a look at the world in a broader context in terms of technology and the digital space. But this year, of course, we're in a very, very challenging situation, challenging context. So this was a really interesting report to look at. And the reason I'm pulling out this report is because it actually gives us a story. It gives us a story of now, where we are in the UK, but also in terms of the picture of the North. So just to pick out a few of those key points from the report. And I'm not going to dwell on any one of them in particular, but there's lots of stats in there that you can look at. But the key message that's coming out is that the UK is actually number one, and that's great news in terms of scaling technology and investment in AI, which I'll come to in a moment as well, and investments in innovative, disruptive technologies going forward. And there's lots of stats that you'll see. I'll throw a few more of them up on the screen here. It's a really big growth sector for the UK, and we should be proud of that. And that's really, really wonderful and helpful to see. Just taking a look at some of those stats, £10.1 billion worth of investment into UK tech companies in 2019 alone. Let's see if that can continue into the future. But certainly last year, 2019, was a bumper year for the UK technology industry. In terms of location-based, not everything is based in London. And having been brought up in London myself, but now living in Yorkshire, living in the North, I can safely say that there is life outside of the capital. But that is seen in terms of some of the fantastic, phenomenal growth that we've seen in the tech sector. Certainly, as you can see there in the top right-hand corner, in terms of Manchester being one of Europe's fastest growing tech clusters as well. The value add of technology and indeed AI is also accelerating. And as we can see in the stats there, the tech sector, GVA, is really rapidly growing and adding value to more sectors than just the technology sector as well. And there's a sort of a halo effect and a spillover effect in terms of how technology is actually enhancing other forms of business, other types of sector, and also society as well. And the picture gets better and better. Now, of course, this summit is about AI, artificial intelligence. So where is the UK in terms of that AI picture? This is a great picture for the UK. You might not look it by this particular graph. And of course, if you look at the United States and China, the UK lags quite far behind. But if we add an overlay on top, the investment that's going into the AI space, and many of you will know how that's going at the moment and will be deeply involved in that, this is a really positive picture. Again, this is not my data. This is from the Tech Nation report and also from Deal Room as well. But this investment into the sector is telling us one major thing, and that is that AI is hot. AI is happening, and AI is actually being adopted and taken forward by all parts of the UK. And that's a very, very strong message. So we should be heartened by that. Of course, that doesn't mean to say that there's an end to it. That's not the end of the story. And of course, if we want to continue that picture, just have a look at that graph. And right now, we're in a very challenging situation in 2020. So we don't know what the actual picture is going to be for 2020 there. But that investment is still continuing. That picture of growth is still continuing. And I'm sure there'll be many more opportunities to continue that trend way beyond 2020 as well. A lot of this is down to, of course, the fact that the UK is very much a knowledge economy as well as a service-based economy as well. And again, it's something we should be proud of, and we can really harness and utilize that information. Turning to the impact of the North on the UK technology sector and the AI space there, if we just pick out three of the key areas from the UK, the Northeast, the Northwest, and Yorkshire and the Humber, where I'm based right now, of course, we can see the figures might be modest in terms of number of startups, but look at the numbers here. If we just add up the investment amounts, 100 million in the Northeast, 600 million in the Northwest, 100 million in Yorkshire and the Humber as well. This is getting to quite a sizable amount of investment in technology. And a lot of that investment is actually heading towards AI as well. And that, again, just serves to underline the fact that outside of London and outside of other well-known technology hubs in the UK, the North is actually innovating and progressing quite well. And again, that's a very positive picture. So just to assure you, there's a picture of the Yorkshire countryside there. We're in the right place. We're at the right time as well. And that's in terms of AI innovation and growth. And that's a really positive image and positive idea to take away with you, that we really are, and colleagues really are, working very hard and actually starting to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And everybody is starting to enjoy the fruits of that hard work as well. So let's come to some of the challenges. So I'm actually going to go and step back in time now. And I remember reading an article in MIT Technology Review a few years ago. Now, this might be a bit out of date. However, I think the messages that I'm about to share with you, and for those of you who read this this issue might know where I'm going with this. This was a specific issue on AI. And that in 2017, we had the point that big data and analytics were sort of at the zenith of their popularity, but AI was starting to kick in as a mass idea, a contextual idea beyond just academia and beyond just startups. It was starting to break through. That picture on the right there, hopefully some of you will know what that is, and I'm not going to tell you what that is, but you can certainly put it on chat. That is the basis, of course, for many artificial intelligence models, many artificial intelligence systems. But there was a very interesting article in there which left me and has stayed with me for the last 3 years or so. And the article was about the idea of the innovations in AI. Where's the next innovation in AI going to come from? And actually, the article was that I remembered very fondly was an interview, effectively, with this chap here, Geoffrey Hinton, Professor Geoffrey Hinton from the University of Toronto, one of the so-called fathers, you might say, of artificial intelligence. And there's been many, of course, pioneers in AI over the years since the 1960s and maybe even before that. But Geoffrey Hinton was one of the people, alongside other colleagues, who developed and perfected in 1986 the backpropagation algorithm. We know that now as deep learning. And Shireen talked about supervised, unsupervised learning. And backpropagation is a fundamental supervised learning algorithm which basically eats data for breakfast. And that's how a neural network learns. But in that article, he was actually quite provocative. And I didn't really I wasn't really prepared for what he said, but he actually asked two very important questions. So he was interested about the advancement of AI research, but also technology. And he asked really two questions. He said, well, what is it about what we're doing in AI research that's deficient? Where can we fix the gaps? Where can we innovate? Where can we actually push things forward? We may be very good at the technology and the science, but are we actually good at identifying some of the key gaps that are emerging? And alongside his comments there and his reflections on his own work was a few comments by a AI researcher, Eyal Decter, who's at the MIT Center for Brains, Minds and Machines. I'm just going to leave that up there for you to have a look at and read the words because they're quite profound. Now, this was 3 years ago, of course, and the question for us is, have we really moved forward from there? And are we really innovating enough? There's obviously a lot of money, a lot of research, a lot of effort going in, but are we really solving some of these challenges? Well, as you heard earlier on as well in the opening talk, this is a really complex area. And of course, a lot of the challenge that people are feeling and hearing is around the loss of jobs and robots and so on and so forth. And I know you're going to hear a lot more from colleagues throughout the rest of the day, next couple of days, around innovations that are going to affect the future of work. But actually, Eyal was very clear. He said, well, you might think that we're quite close, but actually we're very far from a general form of artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence. We're quite far away from that. And the main issue is, at the moment, most AI is quite brittle. A real intelligence, he says, doesn't break when you slightly change the requirements of the problem that you're trying to solve. Now, we've got very sophisticated systems now in different sectors, in different contexts, in different use cases. But the real question is, how resilient are they? And how brittle less, or how prone to not failing are they? Well, that's an ongoing debate. And the systems and the science is always getting better and better. So the picture is changing, but we have to keep asking these fundamental questions, I believe. So I think there's three key challenges that arise out of this. The first one is a bit like this funny picture here. This is the push me pull you, for those of you who know your stories and your movies, and I'm a great movie fan. This is Dr. Dolittle, and this is a very strange two-headed animal. And what a push me pull you is trying to do is trying to walk in one direction or the other. But we have the same issue in AI, I believe. Now, it's not because of any other reason. It's just because of the fact of how we're trying to use AI. So the push me pull you of AI goes a little something like this. If you're an artificial intelligence algorithm or a system, you might be saying this to a human. Hey, I'm a great piece of software. I'm a great algorithm. You can use me to fix all of your problems. That sounds wonderful. And why not? We know feed forward, backpropagation, neural networks, genetic algorithms, genetic programming, all these different types of technologies and methods and tools are there and available. We can use them. But as users and as researchers and people in business, and man and woman on the street might say, but that's wonderful. But what problem can you solve? And so for me, this is a bit of a circular argument. We can have an infinite discussion about this. And this is what has been around in AI terms in the AI space for many, many years. In fact, this idea was first identified back in the 60s by Alan Newell and Herb Simon in their seminal paper on human thinking. And this is about good problems that require good solutions. Now, the way to solve this, and we know this now, is that, well, let's just throw more and more use cases at our models, more and more use cases, more and more data at our supervised and unsupervised learning systems, and we'll get there. So that's one way to solve it, but it's not entirely the way, I feel. So there's still some innovation required there. So let's see how much we can progress with that, and let's see how far we get even in this particular summit. But there's two more things that I've realized observing the AI space over the many years that I've been linked with the area, and indeed since I was a student learning about AI myself. I'm going to be slightly provocative here, but I'd like you to get to think about this. So the second thing is, and I'm going to use popular culture here, and again, I told you that I love watching films, so I'm going to reference some science fiction characters here. Now, these are all AI characters. And what I found is, observing and reflecting on this idea, it seems to me that we love AI. Humans love AI. Humans love intelligence. But there's a challenge and there's a problem with that. Artificial intelligence, yes, absolutely. But not too much, please, because there are some certain challenges with that. And I've got a question for you. I'll leave with you and you can chat it by all means in the chat, and maybe let us know a bit. Let me know later on. A couple of questions immediately arise with that. How intelligent do we want our artificial intelligence to be? You heard from Shireen earlier talking about definition of intelligence, but how much of intelligence do we actually want our artificial intelligence systems to have? Second question then arises very rapidly is, well, then are we comfortable with ceding control to an artificial intelligence? And this is what I might call or make reference to the Zimbardo or the Milgram effect. And any of you who know the Stanford research on this and the prison experiment will know that when you give somebody else the control or power of a situation, it changes how you react to them. And we're not even talking about another person here. We're talking about an artificial system. So we'll have to still contend with that. And then, of course, what's the consequence of that relationship with an artificial system who might have some sort of authority, might have some sort of decision-making power? Are we still comfortable? So there's an important aspect here, which is about our humanity, which is about our relationship as humans, as users, as individuals, as a society with this type of technology that we're creating. Very, very powerful, very, very complex technology here. And I just want you to have a look at those 9 images that I've got on screen there and see if you can discern a pattern. And again, if you can identify and name every one of those characters and the films that they've been in over a period of time that spans probably about 20, 30 years worth of movies that I've watched with AI in it, then please do have a go to identify them. And I'm going to move on to the third bit now. The third challenge I have. Keep looking at that right-hand side of the screen if you can, because it's a bit of a test to spot the difference. So the third aspect, which I've sort of observed and reflected on, is this thing. Okay, this is really interesting, and it hasn't really come up in too much research and too much discussion, but I'm going to bring it up because I think it's really important now more than ever. I think there is an aspect of genderization here going on in AI, and we have to be a bit aware of this, and we need to understand what does that mean. So I think there is an impact of gender on AI perceptions and response. And if you can observe, and it's a bit strange that this has happened, but these 4 female AI characters all seem to have dark hair for some reason, and they're all looking in one direction. That's purely by chance. I didn't design it that way. But these other logos here, these are all virtual assistants, and hopefully you're all familiar with the different technologies, the different companies to provide these virtual intelligent assistants. This raises a few questions. If we are having let's say a working relationship with an artificial intelligence, what do we perceive or expect the gender of that artificial intelligence to be? Should it have a gender at all? Or is it just a system? Is it just an algorithm? Ultimately it is, but we need to get across this idea of empathy. We need to connect with the systems that we actually live and exist with. This poses another interesting question, which is there a gender bias in the AI algorithms that are being created? Now, you will all probably know about the controversies that Facebook was faced with in terms of image recognition, and how that was only recognizing certain types of individuals, certain ethnic minorities, and excluding others. Now, was that either because of internal bias of the system, or did it come from anywhere else? Who's to say? But we have to ask and probe these questions. And if we just stick with the idea of gender, for example, I'm going to pose you this question. Is an AI inherently male in thought, but female in action? I mean, we only have to think about, for example, these technical intelligent assistants, Siri, Alexa, Cortana. Now, some of these are very genderized names for technology, but, is there an idea here, or is there a reality here that people respond better to female voices than male voices? Maybe they do. part of this really is about our relationship with technology. So we should and we must consider that. But the future is in our hands, actually, and the future is quite bright. And so what is that future? And what can we actually do to try and solve some of these problems? Well, in order to AI to flourish, and certainly in the UK and certainly in the North as well, I think we can again break these down to a few really easy to digest points here. The first is science. And of course, research is always carrying on in AI. And that's great to see. And it will continue to carry on. So the science is there and the progress is there. It might well be incremental, less breakthrough, as Jeffrey Hinton and others have mentioned. You know, we're still relying upon algorithms which effectively are 30 to 40 years old, but they've been honed and they've been improved. So the science is there, but the things that we really need are skills. Skills to actually utilize that technology, to utilize an understanding of what does AI mean, and what does a good result and a bad result mean in terms of AI response. So the skills are certainly necessary. And then the final thing is service, and effectively that means employment. It's great to have an AI sector and a technology sector, but if that doesn't lead to any developments in jobs, which is ultimately the bedrock of any economy, and here's the link with my area now, which is circular economy, then we are not able to harness and recirculate that value. So there has to be employment opportunities in the UK tech sector, and that has to be based around the spearhead, which I firmly believe is AI, because that's where most of the growth is going to come from, certainly other areas. But what are we doing about it? So let me talk about my own university, University of Bradford, and we're proud to be platinum sponsors for AI Tech North and the AI Tech Summit. AI Tech North Summit. Now, one thing that we're very much known for here at University of Bradford is inclusion. We were 2020 University of the Year for Social Inclusion, as identified by the Times and the Sunday Times, and that really cuts to the heart of the sort of ideas I'm trying to present to you today. It is about inclusivity in terms of different perspectives, be it either gender or from different elements or sections of society, because that diversity of thought will actually help us innovate, will actually help us add value. But it doesn't end there, of course, because it's not just individuals, not just our students, not just our staff, our colleagues, our researchers, people in our research network. It's actually the company that we keep. And I'm proud to say, it's just a snapshot here of all the different companies and partners that we work with at the University of Bradford, myself, other colleagues, clearly AI Tech North. But we link with a fantastic range of other organizations. I have to mention, and I must mention, the fantastic work that UK Black Tech is doing. Mark and his colleagues there doing some wonderful work. We're partnering with them. We're also partnering with AWS Academy, SAS, Barclays, SAP. We've got input from Google, but also working with our communities, with Bradford Council and Leeds City Region as well. UN Principles for Responsible Management Education, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation in terms of circular economy. But this is now pointing and building in the other elements of society as well. It's not just the tech sector. Healthcare is very important, as identified by the NHS, but also organizations such as WISE and OneSource as well. So we have to think about the ecosystem here. It's not just technology, but it's also people. And at the University of Bradford now, we've got a very wide range of expertise. Again, not necessarily in the technology, which is absolutely critically important, but also in terms of the context and the application. So we have colleagues, and hopefully you'll see, and you'll please get to listen to Ilyas's talk. Ilyas is in the top right there. We'll be talking about AI and law and the ethics of law in terms of AI later on as well in the summit. Fantastic range of colleagues right across the university, including management, law, social sciences, and of course engineering and computing as well, and many more to come. I'll skip that slide and I'll just move on. So one of the things that we're really focused on doing is in bringing together all of our expertise and making that accessible, again, making it inclusive. We just launched 2 programs this year. The first one, as you can see here, is our bachelor's program in applied artificial intelligence. Really exciting program. It's live. It's running as we speak. And the next program is a master's program, which is even more exciting, an applied artificial intelligence and data analytics course there. Now, this one is actually supported through funding from the Office of Students, including some scholarships that we received. And this is some of the advertising that's gone along with that. So we were really, really happy to be one of 28 universities in the UK to receive funding to support AI and AI skills growth and development in the UK. And that's really fundamental, as I said, to how AI and technology is going to grow, not just in the UK, but also in the North. And so if you go along to the OFS website, you can do a search for University of Bradford there, and there are many other universities as well, other providers, and that ecosystem is really important. There's 28 universities that have been provided this funding to support the growth of AI and tech skills in the UK, and that is certainly across a very wide and diverse student population, learner population, from the BAME community, those who have access and mobility issues, male and female, of course, caregivers as well, refugees, estranged students, traveller society as well, children from military families, and from veterans and military personnel. Very wide range of recruits, if you like, but very wide range of backgrounds, and that's what we need. We need to push on in terms of developing the AI leaders of the future. They may come from backgrounds that are very, very different to ours, and that's where the excitement is. I think that's where the innovation is going to be. So to finish off, and I might be going on a bit, so apologies for that, but how do we make it all work? And I was asked this question by Shireen and colleagues. Please, can you make sure, Amir, that you give us some ideas of how do we actually make this all work? The theory is all fine, the knowledge is all fine, but how do we make it all work? Well, we already know, because of advances over the last few years, where to apply AI. And I'm going to skip through these. There's the sort of mundane application of AI, and that might be in terms of very procedural, automated responses. Now, is that really intelligence? There's a debate about that. Is automation artificial intelligence or not? Maybe, maybe not. That's where we see chatbots. But then the more interesting things come into play when we're looking at the application of AI to what I call so-called important or decision-making activities. Now, here's an important one, and here's a key one in terms of the North, and that's in terms of AI for healthcare. Now, in the Bradford Trust Teaching Hospitals, Dr. Tom Lawton, I believe, who recently joined the Trust, is now one of the leading AI in surgery, AI in healthcare practitioners, who is bringing in both healthcare expertise and also AI expertise to see how AI can actually be used in terms of medical interventions in hospitals, in the healthcare context. So that's going to become more and more important. So healthcare is one of the three key areas, alongside clean tech and agri-tech, where there's going to be a lot of growth and a lot of innovation to come. Then we come to a third area, which I think is what I would call is exciting. And of course, then we can talk about cars and autonomous behavior. And for those of you who might know, that's an Audi RS7. Now, if you look closely, if you can see, there's actually no driver there. But this particular car can actually outpace a professional racing driver on the racetrack. Innovations like that are clearly not going to affect all of us. And it's a bit of a fun sort of a application of AI. But actually, it's giving us an insight into what the future is. Going back to the question I raised, one of the challenges about giving control to another type of intelligence, a non-human intelligence. Are we really comfortable with that? And if we are, then the future is very, very bright indeed. But we need to be able to discern how all of these things are going to work. So if we have those three types of innovation areas, then we still need to make sure that something else happens. We need to continue to seek out good challenge use cases. Give us the problems to solve, is what I was always told as a student. Give us a problem to solve and we can throw AI at it and see how it copes with it. But the other important thing is, let's think about the human aspect. Let's think about how we can use AI for good. How can we use technology for good? How can we address large global socioeconomic challenges? And those lovely colors around that profile image there, they're of course the 17 SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And as I mentioned, AI is at the forefront of where that is going to be applied in terms of agri-tech, clean tech, and health tech. Again, this is from the Tech Nation 2020 report. Look at that bar graph there. There is a clear area where AI and machine learning can actually help solve some of these complex societal problems. The last bit then, and I will finish on this, is how we can fill what I would call, and colleagues, I've been working with colleagues at the University of Bradford to develop this idea of the last year or so. It's not necessarily my idea, but on behalf of colleagues, I want to present it to you. How can we fill the 5 E's gap? Now, what are the 5 E's? Well, actually, this is part of some research that myself and colleagues are doing. We're interested in interdisciplinary research, which is based upon this idea of a framework for trust in humanity and AI. I think this is where we have to now bring together technology and the humanity, if you like, bring those two things together. It is about having faith in technology. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these lines here, but if I just linger on the last 2, we heard from Shireen earlier, and you would have heard and seen from AI Tech North and other colleagues in the sector a lot about not just the power of AI, but also about some of the challenges, but also some of the areas where we still need to bridge the gap between the technology and how it's used. So empathy and ethics are really important. How can we understand or get an algorithm, let's put it that way, to understand feelings, comprehension of human behavior, of human context? And how can we actually get an artificial intelligence to discern between right and wrong behavior? And that's the ethical aspect of AI. So part of our challenges is not only to develop the technology and have better use cases to solve, but also to see how we can make things better, not just for ourselves, but also for the technology that we're developing. So I'll leave you with those ideas. And just the last thing, what is the future then? Well, again, because I've shown you things in 3s, I'm just going to give you 3 very, very brief ideas, or very, very brief suggestions, in fact, and then I'll end there and hand over to colleagues. Really, I think AI innovation, certainly in the north of the UK, and certainly in terms of this summit, it's about 3 things. It is about experimentation. It is about having that scientific mindset. We hear a lot these days about being guided by the science. Well, AI definitely is guided by the science, and it's got its roots in some very sophisticated thinking, sophisticated methodologies there. Let's make sure we can develop and experiment on that basis, however and wherever we can. That will lead to innovations. And those innovations are where we're going to take those experiments and we're going to take them and put them into real life cases and see if they actually make a difference, see if they actually add value. And if we do that enough, then, as Clay Christensen said in terms of the innovator's dilemma, we'll be able to disrupt a sector, the way we live, maybe society, but hopefully for the better. So I'll leave it there. That might have been taken a bit too long, but I just wanted to share some of those ideas with you. I think this is a great, fantastic summit. It's a great opportunity for us all to come together and learn. AI is still very much part of humanity's future. It's very much still part of the UK's future and part of the northern part of the UK's future as well, as you've seen. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks for listening, and happy to take any questions. And I hope I wasn't too long there, organisers. So I'll just end it there.
Thanks, Amir.
Thank you.
Amir, if you could stay on the line, we're going to do some Q&A at the end of our last keynote session. There are some questions coming in, so we'll cut back to you later after our next keynote. As I said, there is some digital noise happening out there, I understand. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We are live on YouTube as well. We'll bring in our whole Adventure platform to you at 11 a.m. this morning. So we'll stay on the business track until 11 a.m. And at 11 a.m. we'll actually go live with our business professional and our technologist track as well. Now, next up is a lady I've been working with quite a lot over the summer. Her name's Heather Dorr. She's a data scientist. She works for UST Global. And I think Heather's out there already. We're going to... Hi, Heather, can you hear me? Heather, you're live. Can you hear us? Hi, Heather. Yeah, if you can get your slides on screen ready, we are live. So we'll be cutting over to you in the next few seconds, I believe.
Hi everyone, I think I'm live now, so I'm going to start. So my name's Heather Dorr. I'm UK Head of Data at UST Global. First, I should say that was really wonderful and inspiring talk by Amir, and I'm going to talk today more about the practical aspects of adopting AI in business. It can be a challenging area, but it's such a rewarding. When you establish AI within your business effectively, you can reap many rewards for it and do many good things with it. So I'm going to talk about that today. Just to start with, it's great to be involved with this summit and to be sponsoring it. We're very proud at UST Global to be a platinum sponsor of the summit. It was a great initial talk from Shireen this morning, and key words I think I took away from that was sort of passion and community. And I'd just like to thank Shireen, Naomi, David, and the rest of the team at AI Tech North for really their courage and vision in putting on this summit in these challenging times. We're sort of reflecting on the north of England, the north of the UK, and where we are with COVID and everything else at the moment. To be able to be involved in this summit and be talking like this today is brilliant. So thanks very much, everyone. Okay, so to start with, I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to UST Global. My role at UST Global is to grow the UK data practice, and I've been working now for UST Global since January this year. So we're a technology partner with many global companies, large global companies and small global companies. We operate in 25 different countries, and we deliver cutting edge innovation technologies for our clients. We're a global presence. I tweaked this slide a bit to sort of emphasize the fact that our UK data practice runs out of Leeds. I've got a team of data science and engineers and others in central Leeds when we're in the office. And the reason we selected Leeds as a centre is because we saw the growth, we see the growth that's going on in AI and in data and technology across the north of the UK, and we very much wanted to be a part of that growth and to engage with it and to help it grow really. Personally, I went to university in Leeds. I've studied at Sheffield as well. And I've been working in software development, data and AI, data science for over 20 years now. Pretty much all the time I've been based in the north of England. Leeds has generally been my area of employment. I've worked in York, I've worked over in Manchester and Sheffield. But it's fantastic to be further involved in growing just growing the technology base in the north. So it's brilliant to be involved. So I'm going to talk today about it was really Amir's talk gave us a really wonderful overview about AI and how it's growing and developing and its future, and the steps that the University of Bradford and others are taking to really seek to develop it. And it was brilliant to see the way in which inclusion and ethics and things were emphasised there, because these are all really important parts of it. I'm going to talk today more about about AI in business and how do you move from wherever you are in terms of your data journey to wherever you want to be with AI. So we like I say, UST Global now, I work with a number of UK businesses, helping them to move forward, to move on with where they are with their data in terms of what they want to do with it, what they want to help them with. For a lot of them at the moment, some of them are really advanced and are now reaping the rewards of using AI and advanced analytics in different ways. Others aren't quite there, but they want to move on and get there. And so, I use this slide now to sort of show the 5 steps really from manual data to AI maturity. And, pretty much everyone's someplace on that journey. And I think one of the key things for any business is to recognize where you are, and also what your goals are. What do you want to be able to do with your data and other data and your analytics and your AI. And you know, it's important to do that. It's really important as well and I have, this is from experience of working within organisations and seeking to foster a data culture. It's working and then consulting with organisations and helping them to foster a data culture. But one of the key things I've seen sort of the effective use of data and, you know, progressing the AI maturity journey in any organisation is that data culture. And so, you know, and so one of the key things I think a business needs to do, if you haven't already, is to recognise you may need a culture change in terms of your ways of working with data. One thing you certainly do need is, I think, is sponsorship from your from the executive of your business, but also fundamentally, it's harder work if you don't have buy-in from everyone. I spoke to a business last year who are now data driven, and it took them some years to get there. You know, they're benefiting from being data driven. In fact, they are sort of being more innovative with their data, and they're now deploying AI within their business. You know, they recognise they needed to change their culture, and they really, you know, it was on everyone's lips. You know, they wanted to become data driven, and there was a real buzz about the place when they established that culture, and it really, you know, it was speaking to them. That was that's why they really believed that they managed to change effectively that data culture. And then also importantly is to plan early and to revisit often. And I'll talk about this in a minute, but, you know, develop a roadmap for change. So, you know, take you from where you are now to where you want to get to. And also, you know, it's about, whilst it is about the technology, you know, whatever you're going to use to make your changes, it's much about the way in which your business, the people working within the business help you to change. In fact, it's more so. You know, there's very many very good technologies in the market that will enable you to become more data driven. That fostering of the data and AI culture is just fundamental to ensuring you get to a place of success. So, just talking about a roadmap and planning for utilising your data, it's becoming increasingly recognised that you know, actually having a data strategy and developing a data strategy and using that to drive your planning and your change is really helpful and actually really quite fundamental. It's important to say as well, you know, a data strategy may include a plan to build a data lake, but it's not about a data lake. It's about creating a roadmap for how you create business benefits using your data. And importantly as well, you know, I know we're sort of talking to a largely SME startup audience today. Your plan will differ according to the size of business you are, simply because where you are where you can be quite quickly in the data space differs according to the business you are, the kind of business you are. If you're starting up, you've effectively got a blank sheet of paper, and so to do the homework and to make sure you've got a really good strategy in place for how you start data driven and you remain data driven, and ensure that you know being that, well, as you grow, as a startup grows, you will, if you continue to start off data driven from the start and continue with that, you will grow faster, simply because as you scale, you can be data driven in the way you scale, and that will help you effectively. You know, if you look at the Airbnbs, the Ubers of the world, these guys who disrupted sectors massively, they've actually got a relatively small company for what compared to what they're achieving. And that's because that's not only because they're data driven, but it's one of the reasons why. And, you know, and they're using AI massively because they've got the data models and the data strategies in place to enable them to do so, to help them to do so. For SMEs, it's a bit different. You're bigger than startups, but not as big as a large enterprise. So, you know, I'd say sort of seek to ensure that your data enables you to stay agile. And by that, I mean, as you grow, you potentially build up technical debt and legacy systems. Seek to stay ahead of that where you can, using your strategy and your planning to help you to stay agile. So you can you want to stay as nimble as a startup. But as you're growing as a company, you get more resources to help you to do more stuff. So you want to try and stay as nimble in the startup in that space. Now, enterprises, like large-scale businesses, and this is typically our client base for UST. And I've run my own startup. I've worked in SMEs, and I've also worked in large enterprises. So I've seen the sort of differences that, particularly the differences that large incumbents can have in coping with legacy and technical debt. These can be blockers for a long time for larger companies really started to benefit from the data. But there are there's some really good ways now of moving that on and to be able to utilize your data more, and but it really does begin with the data strategy. So identify and it's not, it doesn't need to be a mighty tome, but what you need to do is what your key business problems you'd like to solve with your data, and how will AI help you in your business if you move yourself into that space. Identify those problems, those business problems, those challenges, and and do some analysis to determine sort of the sort of ones of the biggest impact, the feasibility of them, and they'll pop out to you. So identify those best opportunities, build them fast, and then learn, productionize, and iterate. And one of the additional things that's really beneficial in this space, when you've identified those key business problems that you'd like to seek to solve by using your data and analytics and AI, you've got your business problem, your problem statement. It's really helpful to incubate, to sort of establish and champion an incubation approach to data innovation. At UST, in our practices, we've established data labs which we work through, and most problem statements will fit into this approach. To take, you start with your problem statement, and you do some analysis, and then you work your way through, seeking to rapidly build a minimum viable product or proof of concept, whatever you're looking to do, to build something quickly. Ideally within 2 to 4 weeks, really at the most, to get yourself to a place where you've got a fair idea of how you're going to solve that problem. You've done it on a small scale, and you can enable yourself to build a production plan for how you're actually going to productionize that solution. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day who was saying, she sees a lot of data scientists, they're just constantly doing proof of concepts, and that's that can be true. You do proof of concept, and you move on to your next proof of concept. And what have you done? You've proved the concept, but you've not done anything with what you developed. Get your production plan. How are you going to actually embed that in the business? But there's a technology challenge there, which is, how do you productionize, if it's a machine learning model, how do you productionize your machine learning model and get it into production? That's ML ops, and there's some very good platforms on the market and products on the market that can help you now. But so productionization is key, because to drive your business change, it's all very well having your proof of concept, but you need to productionize, and that's often probably one of the more difficult steps, but also the most effective step. So fundamentally, the incubation part will help you to understand how to solve the problem, and then you move into your production plan. Okay, so and key here is, and this is, I attended a workshop last week, and this Venn diagram popped up again. And I don't know, some of you may well have seen this Venn diagram. It was a different flavor of the Venn diagram at the top. In 2010, a guy called Drew Conway drew this top Venn diagram, and at the time, data science was just becoming a thing, and it resonated with me because I'd drawn a similar Venn diagram just before I saw it. I was doing a presentation and trying to explain seeking to explain the skills that come together when you're talking about data science. Now, in this, I want to talk about effective data teams here, and also the connection between business and IT. And if we look at the top Venn diagram there, we see that data science sits in the middle of maths and statistics, substantive expertise, and that's kind of means the business area, the knowledge of the deep knowledge of the business problem you're trying to solve, and then hacking skills, and that's a bit, well, that's program, that's software development and such like. So that resonated with me at the time. It's still so true today. You can put slightly different words there probably, but it resonates. And this workshop last week, the guy doing the presentation said, for a data scientist needs to have all of these skills if you're going to be a data scientist. And I do agree with that. But I've also found through experience, through building data science teams and data teams fundamentally, is that whilst it can be better to have those three deep skills in individuals, actually it's really quite hard to achieve that. And so if you can work, if you can build teams and really foster good communication across the teams and across individuals, then you can bring those skills together within your data teams. And yeah, it helps to have one or two data scientists in there with all those three sort of core skill sets themselves. But with good communication, you can get high functioning teams by bringing those skills together and really sort of facilitating the like I say, the communication. I keep saying communication because it's so important. And I've seen that happen. I've done that. I've seen that happen. You do reach a sort of critical number of about 12 in a team that it gets to be a bit hard. The communication, the sort of knowledge sharing across teams gets harder as you get bigger, basically. But that can be a really effective way to meet the challenges of it's a skills gap, and Amir alluded to it earlier. We haven't got enough data scientists at the moment. We're developing. We're obviously seeking to develop, to help more of them to develop these skills, both within universities and academia and working. But it's if you recognise the fact that you can by bringing together a multidisciplinary team, you can achieve that too. And it was also important to look at the things like low-code solutions in the citizen data scientists or products and methods that are coming on the market now. And just to finish off as well, it's because one of the things I commonly see, and I've seen it both, working in organisations and in consulting with organisations, commonly. And there's a real it's true here actually. The most successful projects I've seen, whether it's working within a business or consulting for them, is when the business and the IT teams work together, magic happens. But it's so common that you've got a dichotomy between the two, and the IT are like, oh my goodness, I can't support Python in my guys, or whatever the problem is, and you get there's unnecessary sort of divisions between the IT and business. If you can bring them together, like I say, that's when the magic happens. And this is within larger organisations, and you commonly get shadow IT teams within business areas. These can be effective, but they also undermine IT. So fundamentally, it's about working together as best you can. So if you recognise yourself in that space, reach out to your colleagues and seek to bridge that gap, because you can be most effective when you do that. So I suppose the message from this is, this slide, the core slide is levels of communication and sort of recognising that to effectively embed advanced analytics, machine learning, and AI, which is sort of the fruits of that labour at deploying AI. It really is about how you help your people to work together and foster those high levels of communication. And that's it from me now. I wanted to sort of thank you, just to thank everyone, to thank you for listening, to thank AI Tech North for the opportunity. We've got a couple of other talks going on with this summit. My colleague Adnan Masood is talking about MLOps tomorrow, and I'm on a panel this evening. So I'm looking forward to both of those, and I'm really looking forward to attending some of the attending other talks. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Heather. Back in the studio. We do have some questions coming through. Hi, Heather, you are there. Brilliant talk, that. Totally agree with you as well. Those teams just take a range of skills, and you're right, when you do get that balance right, that magic does happen. So thanks very much. I can see, I don't know if we're actually bring some questions live on the screen, are we? Or are we just going to take them straight off the YouTube feed? Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Heather. So how was that for you, Heather?
It was, yeah, it was, well, yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was okay, everyone.
Yeah, no, it came across very well.
Right, good, good.
We are still live on
now, which is great.
Our guy. Hi, Amir. Oh, hi, Amir. You're back. Yes, sorry.
I'm
you're
back.
right.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I switched off the camera.
Yeah,
I was having a cup of tea actually.
We're not technical gurus, but we're getting there. You got to get us revved up this morning, so that's good. So yeah,
we need some AI in the.
Well, we need something. Yes, what that might be, we'll let you know at lunchtime. That's for sure. No, we can see you've actually been posting some of your comments on YouTube as well, Amir. There were some bits you said you wanted to go back and just actually reiterate that. I can read what I'm seeing there. Yeah. Amir, yeah, there was some information you said that you'd missed out. You wanted to actually put forward. Is that right, Amir?
I can't remember what that was now. There was. I think it was just about reiterating one or two of the points. That was really it. I think, thank you everybody for the comment and the questions. I think it's a really, and thanks to Heather as well for outlining the sort of business case there, which is also equally as important. I don't like using the word too much, but I think this is about sustainability of this area. And when we say sustainability, it is about how do we keep going, and how do we keep going is through. It is through education. I think Balachandra was making a point about there's the hype and the sort of the silicon snake oil of AI, and are we in another bubble of technology? Well, there'll always be bubbles of technology. We can't remove ourselves from that. But what we have to arm ourselves with, and these sort of events are absolutely crucial. We have to arm ourselves with knowledge. We have to arm ourselves with understanding. In a certain sense, yes, we need to know what we're talking about, but also we need to know who we can use, who we can link to. Community is really important. That's why we're so excited to be involved with AI Tech North and other partners and other colleagues. This is where this field is really going to progress, I think. So that was the only thing I wanted to just reiterate.
And I completely agree with that. And just. And I think a lot of the growth, we're seeing it now. It's like, disruption itself typically comes from smaller companies, smaller agencies who are nimble on their feet, as I was saying, and can, adopt new technologies fast, come in, disrupt a sector, a business sector, and then you see the larger businesses, or they either buy the company or they certainly adopt it in whichever way they can. And so what I'm saying, I suppose, is that the change, the most changes in this area will come, I think, from smaller startups and SMEs, and that will, as it does, diffuse out to the larger sector. There is quite a lot of hype about, there is always hype about new technologies or emerging technologies. There's a lot of hype now. And, to be fair, quite a lot, some of it is hype, but as it beds in, it will become less hype and more normality. But then there's so much, as Amir was saying, that we're on such a journey with AI, it is very brittle at the moment. The research is going to make a big difference, I think, in the next few years, and continually. So while we'll get to a certain place in business, in the economy with AI, and there'll still be a long, long way to go.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Thanks, guys. We're going to bring this first session to an end this morning now. It's 10:30, so we are live on YouTube. We'll be going live on all 3 streams on our Adventure platform at 11 a.m. this morning. So thanks again to Sharon, Heather, and Amir this morning. We're now going to take a break, and we'll see you all at 11 o'clock.
Are we coming back on? Are we going to Do we need a debrief at all?